Hey, you guys, welcome to another episode of Be Filled. Woo! Christmas is around the corner. Y'all checking out my Christmas earrings? Hello. I'm 5 days away from celebrating. I know you guys are probably wrapping gifts. I haven't wrapped a thing. Listen, I am not on it this year. The tree up is up. Hey, we got that far. And you know what? I am just so excited. I have a special guest. You guys finally, somebody came to see me to say hello. I am just thankful for this conversation today. I know it's going to bless you guys. I have my new friend Brie here. We actually met in Miami. Oh man, woo! I can't even believe it. We were actually talking and come to find out she actually lives nearby. It was such a shocker. I'm like, we came from two different directions, but still ended up in the same place on that day, not even knowing that we would meet. So again, we won't jump into that moment. But hopefully we'll talk about it a little bit later. But I'm gonna allow Bree to go ahead and tell you, look, guys, a little bit about her, and then we're gonna jump into some fun conversation today. I hope you came to be filled.
Hello, hello. I am honored to be here. Thank you for having me. So, super excited. My name is Brie Shouppe. I live in Florida, but I'm originally from Iowa. So, I was born and raised in the Midwest and made my way down to Florida, oh gosh, over 10 years ago now. So, I've been here and haven't left. I had the very stereotypical story of met a boy down here, and that boy is now my husband. So
Okay.
that's why I've been here, but it's been great. We moved our way around. I am a partner for a small business, and so run that business now, which maybe we'll get into that. It's actually coming up to celebrate its 1 year birthday as our business. So that's super exciting. And I'm also the co host of a podcast called Narratives and Nightcaps. And I have another podcast in the works for 2024, which will be really exciting. Yeah. So maybe I'll give some little hints about that or some secrets.
Okay, here it comes. Oh, we getting some news you got. First one, 411.
I know.
I like
So
announcements.
it's super exciting. We've been, yeah, working hard over the past couple of weeks. So maybe I can share some
Yeah.
info on that a little bit if you're interested.
Yes, oh, we love info. Yes, I always like to make sure we get to talking, but you also can share a little bit about what you got going on. We want people to make sure they follow you, your journey and all that good stuff. So we'll have all that information for everybody too in the comments, so they can see all the things that you have going on. But yeah, I'm real interested in this new podcast because I know you're going to tell us a little bit about the one you have now, so it may lead right into
It
it.
may, it may. Yeah. So let me tell you a little. I
Yeah,
know we said we were going to talk about the journey of that
yeah,
podcast.
yes. Mhm.
Because I will say it wasn't like we woke up one day and said, we're going to have a podcast. That was
Yeah.
not at all what that happened.
Mm-mm.
Um, so, the real story is that I would say it actually goes back to when my co host and I were actually in high school. So we were in high school together up in Iowa, and we met at school there, but we actually really connected in AP English. So reading books together. I mean, she became my best friend, still is my best friend. I moved thousands of miles away, and we are the friends that, we can go weeks without talking, but then the second we start talking, we pick right back up. She is like a sister to me. And so our journey really started back then. And it was a couple of years ago. So we both love reading. I personally have loved just sharing that love with others as long as I can remember. Even going back to high school, I know we were talking about this. I used to go to elementary schools and read books to the other kids that were there. I've just always been really passionate about sharing reading and the love for stories because they've made a huge impact on my life, and I just feel like that can also make a really big difference in other people's lives. So I've been doing that for a long time. Fast forward to a couple of years ago, we we were talking about it and just like, well, what if we did start a podcast? What would we do? What would that look like? It would be a really great way for us to also have something to work on together, but we just want to do this for fun.
Yeah.
At the time, though, when we were talking about that, I was in a very hectic work environment. I was
Mm-hmm.
really busy. She had just had a baby at the time, and so it was sort of like not right time. But it wasn't too long after that that I ended up resigning from my position that I was in. And she now has more of a toddler. And I was taking some time off of work. I was sort of forced into a position of needing some rest. And so, side note, yeah, if you,
Don't
uh,
worry, I'm like she's glazing over this thing right now. But I'm like, oh yeah, that's the whole part of this podcast. Let's talk about this uncertainty and God bringing it all together. We're gonna get there. We'll let her tell the story first,
we're
Debbie.
gonna
We'll
get
get
there.
there.
So yes, so huge believer in rest, and I needed a period of rest. And it was definitely a period of uncertainty, but I would also say too some intentional uncertainty, which we can get into all of that. But
Mm.
so in this period of not knowing what direction I'm going, that was when we said, "Hey, now is a really good time for us to figure this out." And we had no idea what we were doing, and we said, "That's okay. Like we're gonna do it. We're gonna roll with it." And so we did. That was in the fall of 2022. We said, "Okay, we're gonna launch this podcast at the beginning of 2023. What do we need to do to get there?"
Right.
And so we started to work on that. At the same time, I always sort of felt this like I don't know, just in my heart and in my head that I wanted to do something with books, and this podcast was part of that. I also started to get into some proofreading and editing and book coaching for people too. So
Mhm.
some opportunities and some doors opened, which was wouldn't have happened if I hadn't taken this time of rest. And
Mhm.
yes, so looking back, it is absolutely unbelievable and kind of wild to think about how things came together. But we started to work on this podcast and launched it at the beginning of 2023. And even that, it has evolved over just its 1 year of being in existence, and to see where it's taken us, the fact that it took us to Miami, to Beyond Words, to meet you and all of the other incredible people that we connected with, and just the platform that it has also become to support, not just share our love of stories, but also support other authors and talk to publishers and learn about the industry in a really um like I don't know, just like a normal conversation. And I think that was something that I talked a bit about at Beyond Words with people, is just that this industry on the outside looking in can be a bit intimidating, and I love that we are kind of, it's just so informal and casual to introduce it to people that have questions or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's good. And I was gonna say too, and that's kind of the whole platform idea here with B Field is that I kept feeling like I don't know. I mean, I wasn't. Let's just talk about how I keep telling people this is not what I want to do. Really, it's not. I've never felt called in my path, in my thoughts, in my way to do a podcast. Oh no, that's not my thing. Actually, I'm a businesswoman turned author and this other. I'm living double lives. I tell people. I feel like I'm living separately here. Like I'm going two different ways every day, but making sure that I'm gracefully keeping them afloat. Um, yeah, I agree with that. That was not the thought. That was not the path. But I'm enjoying it. I mean, I don't know. People come back and listen to my crazy podcast. People join me to come talk to me. I'm like, great. I'm like, I haven't even hit a year yet. We just started this whole great thing here in April. One day after finally, I think God was saying He had enough of my shenanigans, and
He does
I was
that.
in the, yeah, and I was in the middle of a move, and I didn't have anything set up. And because every time somebody says something about it, and I don't know if you ever heard this before, but I feel like when he tells us to do something, then the next minute, he's like, I'll give you a little break where you don't hear from me. And then the next thing it's like, oh, so then the people around you start asking you about it. And then it starts showing up on social media. And then it's like all this. I'm like, okay, I get it. Okay, I
Yep.
get it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. But it's like still gonna do it on my time when I'm ready, right? But then one day driving home, boom, it was like now. I felt this now feeling of I was driving by my old house back to the new house, and he was like everything I had was like in that room. Because I previously, I don't know if you know, but I think we kind of talked about this. I was a I still am, wasn't I was doing a worship Wednesday for the kids' church during COVID. And it was like each week they could get on and we would talk about worship and we would do worship songs and things together. And I was recording then, which I didn't know would lead to, hey, here we are today. I think that was just the test to see if I would even jump on YouTube or do anything on video because that was the first time I started recording and doing stuff in front of a camera, really. And I was like, you know what? Fine. I was like, so I stopped the car. I was like, if we got to get this serious about the now, I was like, that day I went home and recorded the first intro video, and then that next day I recorded 2 more episodes, and I was like, I sent it to a couple of people and was like, what do you think about this? And they were like, what are you talking about? What is this? You're gonna be on video? And they were like, yes, let's do it. And I was like, y'all are crazy and lost your minds, but okay, we're going to set these episodes out here and see what happens. And it's just kind of took off from there. Because at first I was, you go through that thing of how can I plan it? Who's going to
Mhm.
be on it? What's the name of it? What, you're trying to, I don't know. I'm a planner. So I'm like, I need to see the full vision. As we all humans like to say, we need to see the full idea first before we jump out there and look crazy. But I'm like, all right, I'll look crazy for Jesus. Let's go. But as you can tell, brought this back around to what you were talking about. Every time, and my friend said this to me, hey Jen, she said this to me one day and it blessed me. She was like, I've noticed from looking at your life that your yes always comes to a door and then it opens another door. And so I felt that during your story too. It's like the one time, as soon as you get bold enough and have faith enough to step forward and say yes, then it's like that next yes keeps the ball rolling because if you can be, faithful to him and say yes in the small things, then the next thing he's like, see, you didn't know what was behind this door, but there's more. But there's more. And he can trust you with more. And it's continuously going to come. Because I think you even told me that now you're scheduling episodes out into next year, right? So it's like this is like a booked up thing. Like people are coming and coming. And at first I was doing the same thing. I'm like, nobody's gonna even want to be on here. And
Oh,
I'm like, how we here at season 3, episode 7. And my first guess were people that I from another yes, from me saying yes to New York and yes to send those book awards were my first guess. Like, what? People want to talk. And if you give a great platform, like you said, a free open platform where people can come and share their ideas, share how they feel, people are looking for that. Something positive where you can share about what you have going on or their books or opening a door. People, I didn't even realize there's such a need for that, but it's like millions of podcasts, so you're like, doesn't matter, but it does because it's different.
well, and that was one thing, when we were starting it, we had all of even just like the not necessarily specific negativity toward us, but sort of that there are millions of podcasts. Why would you want to start a
Mhm.
podcast? And
Yep.
one thing that I have learned since doing that is
Mhm.
that there is a space for your voice and your story, especially if you're
Mhm.
creating this welcoming space that is positive and supportive of the community that you want to support.
Mhm.
There is a space for that and there is a need for that. And like you were just saying, how it evolved, we just never expected. And it has been so fulfilling to be a space that can be uplifting for people. And
Yeah.
funny too. I mean, like we laugh, we cry, we share embarrassing stories because we've known each other for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I was just, we're really passionate about what we're talking about. And we hope that the people that listen, they're the same people too. You know, they're passionate about storytelling, they're passionate about books, or they want to hear from an author that they've read their stories. And that's been so fascinating for us too, is to just talk to the different authors from various genres about what their process is like and ask questions that we've been readers for so long. We never thought we would get to talk to people that we're inspired by,
Yeah.
to say, how did you come up with that?
Yeah.
And what you thought, if you had ever envisioned, oh, I bet that they were going through this and they thought about that. You're never right. Like you're
Right.
so you're
We can
never right.
assume. Yep.
But it's so amazing to hear about their different thought processes. And for me, as also now a writer and a book coach and in the editing space too, it, I mean, it's helped me learn so much about different people and then how I can change and continue to work with different authors, because that is one thing, as you will know, and with any business or any organization, you're dealing with a lot of different personalities. And it's the same way with authors
Yeah.
too. And so if I'm working with them on their book or wanting to do a proofread, or if they're asking for advice too, it's helpful to have a network of different people to think through past conversations and what
Mhm.
helped that person that may also help this person.
Yeah.
And because they're all different.
Yeah. Yes. And I like that you say that, because you have to shift, right?
Mhm.
Just like in life, you have to be aware of your environment, the people that you're talking to. It's a whole thing. I think that's why a lot of people are like, you do a podcast all the time. I think when I look at it, I'm gonna be honest. I take the easy route. I don't do all that editing. I don't do all of that crazy stuff. I don't have any intro videos. I don't have a team sitting behind me. This is what you get. And I tell people that all the time. Like, you're gonna come on here, like you're gonna listen to this show, you're gonna see me like I am now, and I'm gonna post this thing. I review it, yeah, I'll listen to the episode afterwards. Or if I feel like there was a snag, I may re-record if I need to. But honestly, most of the time, once I'm done with the conversation, I release it into the atmosphere. It's gone. It happened. This day was scheduled for a reason. This conversation is needed for somebody. So I'm like, here you go.
Here it
Doesn't have to
is.
be, yeah. And I'm like, I think that's what God was trying to tell me at first, is it doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be perfect. There's somebody waiting on what you're saying. I don't know the person. I don't know when they need this episode. It could be later on in life. But what I try to say is, like you say, there's space. We need to have this conversation, and just release it. I think that's another blessing for people. I think, like I said, about being planner, and I need to know the whole picture. Just do it.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
it's a
Well,
bad thing, girl.
same. I'm I'm such a planner the same way, and it's just do it, and it's hard and it's
Yeah.
scary and it
Yeah.
does
Well,
require a lot of faith and a lot of trust.
yes.
But like we were talking about when we met for lunch and
Yes.
stuff,
Yes.
if you really feel that like heavy on your heart, that voice that is telling you to do something, whether it's that you need to start a podcast or write a book or have your own business
Yeah.
um, or take rest,
That.
if you don't eventually do that, it is almost going to be pushed upon you, which is what happened to me. I know
Yeah.
we were talking, I told you, I had a whole plan for 2022. I had a whole plan for how it was going to go. And halfway through, almost exactly halfway through the year, it was like that plan is out the door. That plan is non existent at this point. And because I was sort of like pushed over the cliff. And so all of a sudden, here I am. And so that happened in July, but it was really September that I ended up resigning from my position that I was in, which is sort of in a corporate environment. And so that's September. And I am leaving this position and I have no plan. I don't have a job lined up. I I don't know what's going to happen. I really have no plan. And that's when I look back on that, I'm like, wow, I really did that because that is so opposite of my personality. I
Listen,
like
you
to
and
have a
me both.
plan. Uh,
Mm-mm.
I like to have a plan. And even when that was happening, my husband was like, I don't think you last 2 weeks. Like, he's like, you're not, that's not gonna happen.
Oh
You are
my
not gonna,
gosh.
he was like, you are not gonna last 2 weeks. And I was like, it's fine. I'll be okay. There's stuff to do, that we got things to get done. um, even, oh, and this is so random. We ran into one of our neighbors last night and we were talking about their Christmas lights. I was like, "Oh, I love your Christmas lights. They look so nice." And he's like, "Yeah, you have that garland around your door." And my husband goes, "Oh, she made that." And in the back of my head, I was like, "Yeah, I made that last year when I was taking a period of rest and I needed things to do. And I thought, man, if I make this garland, that'll surely take up some time."
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That's so funny.
How silly is that? So it is, and but it, I mean, it was a forced period of rest, but also forced upon me in that moment. And then when I realized, wow, this is really what I need. I need this moment to take a step back, to breathe,
Uh-huh.
to appreciate being in existence, and just calm my mind and calm my body. And then that was when things started to, doors started to open one by one,
There you go.
um like you were saying, it's kind of like your yes opens one door and then that leads to something else and that leads to something else. It wasn't like things changed overnight, and they're still changing and they're still evolving. I've definitely learned to be more trusting of that process, despite my internal mind being like, no, 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 you need to have all of the answers. You need to
Yes.
know everything. But I've definitely learned to be more trusting of that. And it did. I took this period of rest, and then timing timing was everything, and I wasn't in control of that time anymore like I thought I was going to be at the beginning of 2022. Thought I controlled all of that.
Mm.
Hard lesson, I did not control any of it. And all of a sudden it was like one little door that I said yes to. I think I was like, sure, why not? I don't got anything else going on.
And it wasn't even like a big old, yeah, let's do it. It was like, I'm gonna drag my feet a little bit, but I'm still unsure, but I'm still gonna go. And I think that's what we're trying to portray is that
Yeah.
even in uncertainty, honestly, I try to tell people this now, and people are like, how are you out here doing this? Why are you all just, because I have learned that even if I don't feel it in my humanness that I need to be in this room or I need to go and do it, I have to be confident enough to say, I'm going to go in fear. I'm going to go in
Yep.
uncertainty because God is asking me to, because I'm feeling pushed towards this way. I'm feeling a call to do this. Should be here for a reason. And like when you're talking about how it's pushed upon you too, what I try to tell people is God is not going to let you miss a divine moment that he's trying to orchestrate. Okay? If he said that nothing that comes from him will return void, I can tell you right now, he's gonna figure out a way to get you where he needs you at that very moment in time. You could be over here in France, and he says he needs you at this day over here somewhere else. He's gonna figure out a way to get you where you want. So that's why when you said my plan was to stay till this time, but no, I need that intersection right now.
He was like, no, 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 no. I'm sorry, but you've been putting this off for far too long. I'm gonna need you to make some moves.
Today. All right.
And And he did, and it's so, I know I was telling you about this. When I think back, I'm like, this has really been something I've just been called to for so long. And I kept thinking I had my own doubts. I mean, I remember this was years ago that my husband and I were out walking, and he was like, I don't know why you don't just write a
Mm,
book. I don't know why you don't just get into editing. I don't know why you
mm.
don't just find something related to that space, help people tell their stories. And I was
Oh,
like, and I go, me, like that's not what I
yeah.
do. I
Oh,
go, I don't have the experience, I don't have the knowledge. I mean, I immediately shut it down.
yes.
I'm thinking back to those conversations that I kept them so guarded and so secretive because I was like, "Oh, I can't I can't tell anybody that this is what I really want to do. This is what I want to pursue. And so it is just wild to think about how it all sort of came together where it, he's been putting that on in my mind and in my heart and in my soul for so long in just little ways.
Woo.
And now here we are. And that, I mean, and that's what we do. And I know we've talked a lot about the podcast and the work that I am so fortunate to now do with just a handful of authors, but
Yep.
ultimately the other businesses and organizations that I work with, I'm all about telling their story. And that's one thing is my mom is my business partner. So we have a family
Amazing.
business.
Hello.
And that is another thing where our you combine her experience and my experience, and I look at it now and I'm like, dang, we really complement one another. Like, your strengths are like, I can learn so much from you, but then I have different strengths, but we complement each other so well. And it was actually just a couple of months ago, I ran into someone that I hadn't seen in 6 or 7 years. I ran into her, and she, that immediately you like run in and they're like, oh, catch
Mhm.
me up on the past
Yeah.
6 years. And I'm like, oh man, it's been a roller coaster, but like, let me give you the highlights. And so I go, well, like my mom and I, we started our own business. And she goes, that is it makes so much sense. She was like,
Right.
you and your mom make so much sense to be working together. And I was like, yeah, we do. You know what? You're you're so right. And so it's just having that trust is hard, especially for people like us who want to plan and want to be in control of everything. But trusting in timing, to trusting, when a door opens or when a door closes, and like allowing yourself to feel that too. Like I said, for me, I needed to feel that rest. And now, oh man, I will shout that from the mountaintops, that if you feel like you need rest, you need to take it. And I know that that's easier said than done. I 100% do. And I mean, that is another thing though, that like timing wise, I trusted in that time, and that wasn't easy to do. If it'd been a couple of years earlier, there was no way I could just take that rest.
Right.
Um, but also, like, I give all of the credit to the people around me who supported that and encouraged that, and have encouraged me through the rest and taking my time, and then have supported, you know any door that I mentioned where I'm like, this sounds crazy, am
Right.
I crazy? And and
I have that all the time. I'm like,
for
can I?
sure.
Oh, they just know now. They're like, whatever.
Yeah, we're like, the more we talk, I'm just like, we're two peas in a pod with the way our minds work and
Mhm.
our dreams, and how we approach all of it. Yeah, it's so true, but it is the people around me. I couldn't do it without them. And
Yeah.
so that's
Yep.
another thing. I'm like, you got to take rest. If you know you need rest, you got to find a way to take it. But also, you got to have the right people around you. And these are
Mhm.
the people that love you, and through all of it,
Mhm.
through through the thick and through the thin, like they say. So,
Yep.
got to have the right people.
Yep. And I think so. A couple things. I'm gonna try to see if I can remember everything that was flowing through my mind just now. But so something that I was gonna hit on was the fact that we, like you said, too. Man, that thing was hitting me in my heart. I was like, oh. But the how much doubt we have to fight against to do all this stuff, like to take these leaps and to jump out there. How much time? How many? We got to just say boop and throw it away and just be like, press it down, get it off me, work through it. We have to do this. And it's like people think that we jump out here and we're like, we're made for this. Honey, do you know how many internal conversations I have and how much prayer I got to do to get,
Oh,
how many battles I fight in my own house, walking around screaming out loud, walking. I'm like, what? Let me tell you how many times I have to battle. And then I do it because let me tell you, I don't want to do all this delayed obedience and disobedience. I understand all that. I'm down with that. But let me get it out. I always tell people, God know I'm the spicy child. Okay. I'm gonna fuss first. and I'm gonna stomp my feet. I'm gonna fall on the floor, but I'm gonna go. I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna do it. But
Oh,
then also after I come through the feisty part and I don't wanna, don't ask me. And then it's like, you know why you shouldn't ask me? Because I can't, I won't, I don't know, I don't have, then you got to go down that. So it's like you said, a roller coaster because it's like, yeah, this is a swell idea. Why you pick me again?
right. I was
Why are
like,
we here?
"Are you sure? Are you
Yeah, it's
are
like you
you?"
questioning him. Are you sure? And he's probably like, "Do we
Yeah, he's like,
do this again?
"Seriously?"
Are you seriously gonna ask me?" I know what I've already listen, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, all right." But it's funny because again, we can't see,
Nope.
right? We can't see the full picture. We can't see how he sees us. That's why a lot of times I pray for God vision because I'm like, give me your vision. How do you see me? Keep revealing those qualities and let me see what I'm missing. Because again, like you said, I had this path, I had chosen, I had because again, at the time when I was growing up, you had to have graduated from high school, college, multiple degrees. The job is the most important thing. Climbing that
Climb the
ladder was
ladder.
the thing, right?
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? So it's like if you I'm like looking at myself, I'm like, do you know how hard I fought to get these degrees and ladders and falling up? And that was me. But again, here comes identity. Come on, smack me in the mouth, Holy Spirit. That was identity because I was so tied to that thinking about this or doing anything else, I'm like, this is I don't want to say beneath me, but I'm like, are you sure we want to leave all of that security and status to do what? I mean, I guess being an author is cool. I'm not playing that down, playing it, but you gotta work through these things because this is the life that I grew up in. This isn't like something I'm like, oh, I made this up. I'm like, no, this is what we were taught. You go here, A, B, C, and D, stay in the
oh,
lines. Stay in the lines. So now you got all this freedom to flex and do all this other stuff and make other things careers, and you're like, where'd that come from? So I know you feel some a way about that too.
oh, yeah, and it is. It's just, whether it's something you were taught in your home, but I also think it's like a societal pressure
Yes.
to
Hmm.
take this, like, this is your path. This is what you do. Then you go here, then you do this, and like you said, you climb that ladder. And that hits home for me because when I was in my previous job,
Yep.
and there was one day that I'm sitting with my husband. I mean, we were at home and he knew. He's like, "She's tired and she's worn down." And we were
Yep.
sitting there and he was really, I mean, the only person that I totally would just be completely honest with.
Mhm.
Even though I feel, you know, I always felt like I was hiding it really well, but towards the
Mhm.
end of me leaving there, I now know that I definitely wasn't. Like I was I was worn down. But
Right.
I'm sitting with him and I go, I- everyone has not everyone in terms of like people close to me, but just this earthly world has
Right.
told me I need to climb this ladder. And I go, and the closer I get to the top, the more I don't want it. And he was like, "You don't need to do that. Like, that's not at all what you need to do." And so, because there's just this external pressure to make sure that you stay in line. And I think everyone feels that to an extent, but I definitely feel like women specifically in our current culture and environment feel that even more. And
Mhm.
I do love to see that there's a little bit of a shift happening right now where it is like, oh, actually, you don't need to follow that
Yeah. Yeah.
path. You don't have to climb that ladder. But that's hard, it's hard to break out of that. And because I couldn't even tell you when we had that conversation, it was definitely before I left. And that's not to say that now I'm grateful for the time that I had at that company and the incredible things that I did learn, good and bad lessons. Like there was a
Right.
lot that I was able to take away, but
Yep.
would I be able to look back and see all of that if I hadn't taken time to actually reflect and do all that? Probably not. Like there's no way we would be having this conversation.
See, and that's what I was talking about. But you just always catch on because it's like you've been there. And I try to tell, and it does something so terrible. And I look back now and I'm like, oh, I was a terrible person. And I mean, because it does. It's like the more I'm so glad. I always tell people, I'm so glad that I listened and that those two people, you know, he finally said, okay, it's enough. It's enough, girl.
Yep.
Hey, I need you to realize who you truly are. Calm all the way down. Let's get back to reality because I was a wreck. I always tell people, I'm like, to hold yourself up on that pedestal for so long, it's a whole different dynamic. Like, I can't even believe like some of the stuff. Like I'm sitting in my room right now and I'm looking at some of the outfits that I used to wear, and I'm just like, it's like a reminder, of that where I was. And sometimes now when people call me the boss, so you're the boss, so you're still this or that, and I'm like, I used to thrive off that title, right? People are the boss lady. I got boss lady cups. I got all kind of stuff. Like that was my thing. Like, yes, I run this thing, and ain't nothing else you can tell me about it. And if you don't, if let me go for a job interview, you need me more than I need you. Like, let me tell you, I was something to be dealt with, and to think about, ooh, how far I have come.
Yeah, no, you say that, and because I'm the same way. I look back and I tell people I was not fun to be around. I don't think my poor husband,
Yes.
because
Oh,
he was the one that had to deal with me. But I think
yeah.
about that and go, "Ooh, I was not fun to be around." And
Nope.
to also, I mean, to feel like I'm coming back to myself and that this weight has been lifted off of me since I
That
took
part
that step. Oh, to
is
feel
freeing.
like you are being the person that you were called to be. And
Yes.
oh, it had just, and then, people connect with that too because
Yes.
you're going to feel better. Someone else needs to hear your story too. And the only way you can do that is if you're being your honest self. And
Oh,
the,
yep.
the way that I'm just like, this is who I am, take it or leave it. Cause that's the other thing is, I think, and this is another, I was just talking to a group of women about this too.
Ooh,
As women, we're supposed to always feel like we have it together. And even if you don't have it together, you better show that you have it together. And
yep.
to not have that weight now where I'm like, oh, what you see is what you get. And I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be professional. I work with a lot of
Oh
businesses
yeah.
and organizations, but I am myself with
True.
them. There's no show. this, this
Nope.
is what it is. And oh, with the podcast too, I'm like, so we only share videos on social media. We don't show the whole video or anything, but
Yeah.
how we show up is how we show up. And that the both of us, I mean, I'm super busy. She's a mom with a
Yeah.
toddler. She's super busy. She's working too. Like how we show up is how we show up. And
Thank you.
that's what makes it fun.
Yeah. No, and that's good because I think that's what people are looking for is authentic people who have been there. They need that to counteract what we're seeing thrown at us all day long in 10-minute, 10-second videos, to 15-second videos. Like there really needs some type of connection and to other
Yeah.
people, some type of guidance. Because I what one thing I told people too was like, honestly, the more I think about it, if I don't show up and show people that it can happen, they're gonna look to somebody else that maybe steers them the wrong way. So I think this conversation, excuse me, is such a blessing because we're just telling people that you can live your life, fall down, get bruised, get back up, be uncertain, have fear, have doubt, but go.
Go
Trust
show
and
up.
go. Yes,
Yep.
trust and go. Just don't get stagnant. And I think that's how you build faith, and you build faith and you show others that they can build faith too, because that's where faith and hope step in, right? When we do things that we are uncertain about, when we let God refine us in a way that shows our true selves, the shackles come off and you're like, what is this life? And why did I waste so much time being unsure and being over here like, I have to be this and I have to be that and I need to show up this way. It's so hard to people please in that kind of way too. And then I don't know, now that sometimes I think about it, I don't know if it was imposter syndrome or what, but I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, what was I doing? I'm like, well, am I the imposter now? I'm the better version now. Like, what are we doing? Like, at first, like going back to church and stuff like that, I was like, am I supposed to be here? You know, it was like, I'm like, man, I got some work to do. And so I got a lot of
Oh,
work to do.
I oh, the imposter syndrome, man, I feel that, and I still
Mhm.
feel that at things. I told you that about Beyond Words too, where I
Yeah.
showed up and it was like, "All right, you're gonna do this. You're gonna have a table. You're gonna be on
Yes.
a panel." And I'm looking around and I'm like, "Oh man, am I supposed to be here? Do they have the right person?" I
Listen.
and but you that is the biggest thing is you're like you show up and and you're there and that I was on cloud 9 after that weekend.
Yes.
And I was so nervous going into it because I was like, am I a fraud? Should I be here?
Come on.
And I no, that is it is hard and we talk about it. I know we're talking about it right now. And we're like, just show up.
Yeah.
Like it is, it's not easy. It's not
No.
easy to do, but trust it. If you, oh man, if you feel it and you know you need to show up somewhere, show up.
Amen. Amen. Because I tell you what, excuse me, it's the craziest thing that you brought that up because I have this thing where I'm like, hey, wouldn't it be more fun if I went with somebody?
Oh,
Maybe I
same.
should take somebody with me. I have noticed that in my uncertainty, God's like, you're gonna show up by yourself and with me
Right.
and me only. So I'm sitting in my hotel room like, I'll just order takeout and hang out and sit right here and wait for tomorrow. I'm gonna change these outfits, take these pictures, and my husband's like, document the whole weekend. I'm like, I don't want to do that. He was like, people want to see it. I'm like, no, thank you. Because I'm already like, I'm in Miami by myself with people I don't know. I'm just here hanging out. And I'm like talking to some of these people, and they're like, "Yeah, I did this movie directing, something else," and I'm like, "I live in Florida, up the street, and I work at home." Like,
Yeah.
what you talking about? And it was like they were doing these big things, New York Times bestsellers, and all this other stuff, and I'm like, "Okay, Lord, I see you. I see you. There, put me in the room. I'm good." But
Exactly. Oh, I was the same way where I'm like, do I really show up to this thing by myself?
by myself.
And we did I love it too when we both met and we're standing there and you're like, "Oh, I'm from Florida." I go, "Me too." And you're like, "Where do you live?" And I go, I live near in the Tampa Bay area." And you're like, "I live in the Tampa Bay area too." And we're like, "Where in the Tampa Bay area?" Because that's all we ever tell people
Yes,
is,
yes, they
"Oh,
don't
I
know.
live in the Tampa Bay area," because they don't know. They have
No.
Florida, big state. They have
Yeah.
absolutely no idea. And I'm like,
Yep.
Newport Richie, Trinity area, like brushing it off. And you're
Yeah.
like, we're basically neighbors."
Yes, exactly. So it's crazy. Yes, it's so I think when I look back over that event, and I have not said this out loud, but since you brought it up, man, oh, somebody always comes and pulls out stuff from my private study time or something like that, or a private conversation that I've had with somebody. But when I look back over that weekend, so much stuff was happening behind the scenes to block me from getting in the room that I was talking over with my husband. I was like, I could tell the things of what the enemy didn't want to happen, why I was having a doubt, why I shouldn't have been there. Like enough to say you shouldn't go. Like, girl, I had things from like my I don't even want to tell it on here too much, but the hotel I was staying in, apparently, I don't know if I told that story, you were there, but my shower ended up having some stuff come over from the next room, come through the shower, like all
Oh,
kind of stuff happened that weekend. And afterwards, I realized that the reason was because there was actually a lady that came to my table, and nobody really knows this, I don't think. But she took a video of the whole room in Miami, and the lady was in New Jersey, and she says, I need that book right there. Ends up being my book. Yeah, you see that?
Oh,
Ends
you're
up
giving me chills.
right. Ends up being my book. The lady says, well, would you mind signing it for her as well? So I wrote in the book, I said, well, I always pray before I write. And I always ask, whatever words you have for this person may be filled and fill them up and give them what they need. I wrote this message, didn't think too much of it. I took a picture of it because I like to take pictures of when I sign the book. And she walked off, sent the message to the lady, and the lady was crying, like broken apart. Like she was like, oh my goodness, how did you know? How did she know? I know this is surely coming from God. That was the message that I needed. Like, I OMG. And then the girl was like, I cannot thank you enough for signing this book and giving her that message. She said, I cannot wait to give it to her for her to start on it. She was like, you know what? I'm gonna get a copy for myself too. We're gonna do it together. And then she said, I may have to even get you to come out to New Jersey, to speak with the other ladies as well. So you see what happens? Like that one yes balled into something else. And then also, if I would have never shown up or I would have kept that doubt, I wouldn't have been confident enough to socialize and talk to the people that are in the room. Building relationships with those people that now I can say, oh hey, yeah, I know this person from this place or this place. And now look at us. I couldn't say that, hey, I knew Brie, and now we're having this conversation. And we also can be friendly because we're in the same neighborhood. Like, we would have never known that out of the thousands of people, we are right here next to each other on mission if we wouldn't
Right.
have shown up. So it's like those things, those little connections like that. I'm like, I see why you didn't want me to get in this room, because there's assignments that we don't know about that we need to fulfill.
Absolutely. And oh, you're making me think too that what I always come back to, and this is a conversation that we were having with some other people there too,
Yeah.
is that your story and your mission
Yep.
is going to impact one person to start, and then it's going to impact another. But that's my thing, is I'm always like, if this helps one person, if this changes for one person, that that's all that I can ask for. And
Yes.
that's why, like, everyone's story is so important, is because I'm like, well, your story will help that one person, just like my story might help that one person. And that's another thing, talking about culture is just, and that's because it also comes into my line of business, is everyone thinks that what they do has to reach everyone. They're like,
Yes.
I have to get to everyone right away, and if I don't make
Yes.
it to everyone, then I'm a failure. And
Yes.
I'm like, oh, no, 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 this isn't about reaching everyone. This is about taking one step at a time and one person at a
Thank you.
time.
Thank you.
That's what you need to do. Like, your story will help that one person, and when they
Yep.
help that one person, then that person is going to help another one person.
Yep.
And that's what we're doing. And so you had that one person that just like changed the whole weekend for you. And like, I
Yep.
mean, just open it up. That just gives
I
me
was
hope.
so shocked, but it's like that. We're walking in our uncertainty because again, we're just being obedient and showing up and doing what we're supposed to be doing. Or, hey, you know, I really like this event. I went last year and I'm going to show up this year. But thinking that I was just going to do nothing besides, socialize and bring the book, I don't know what else is going to happen. I have no idea what's going to happen when I go places. But it's that kind of stuff, because then you're like, wow, even if you can use me to do nothing else but steward the environment and bring your light and your joy and your peace to those that are in the room, that's enough.
That is enough.
That's
Yeah,
enough.
like you said, being kind and spreading that light, that is
Mhm.
100% enough, because a lot of times it feels like there isn't enough of that in the world. So if you can
Nope.
be that one person that does bring that shows up
Yes.
and is kind
Yep.
and spreads that, oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying. That's sometimes that's all I got. You know, that's all, oh well, I feel like that's all I got, but you just never know. That may be enough, because I mean, I remember the one lady too was up there. I had no idea what she did, or what she was about to talk about, but I could tell she was so nervous. And so I went up to her and I said, "You okay? Are you nervous?" And she was like, yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why. And I told her, I was like, don't worry about it. You're here for a reason. We all respect you. We can't wait to hear from you. Like, I started pouring into her cup because I was like, I told her, I said, because think about this. I said, if you get up here in your mind, you're not going to pour out what you truly want to tell us. Your message is not going to portray exactly what you want. That's cute.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's why we have real podcasts. That right
Oh,
there.
yep.
And also,
He
mommy,
really likes to be included.
it's so cute. Oh, my little one is here too. So he already came and banged on the door, and I'm like, I did lock one door, so but I know he's looking for me. But no, I was just gonna say that moment to her meant a lot because everything was stirring around her, and then she was stirring in her mind, and I could tell. And I was like, I felt the need to walk up, so I did it. And when I did, she was like, "Thank you so much." And she hugged, and I sat right in the front. I made sure I kept eye contact with her. I made sure I kept, and when she finished, she walked back over and gave me a hug. And you know what? When I came back in the room from lunch or whatever, she gave me another hug. See, so you just never know that just again being vigilant in those little kind moments how it can set the tone for what they're gonna do next and kind of find out this lady has a massive business that she's doing like all this stuff for and I'm like great okay I would have never even and I wasn't there for that it's like I wasn't there to get anything like that from anybody I was just there to enjoy the event but I love that again key word here is have faith enough to show up you can kick and scream, we can fall out,
Oh,
but just you know what I'm saying? But I think in uncertain times, like you said, whether we need to, and I'm gonna bring this up from the weekend too, because my pastor was actually talking about Mary and Martha
oh,
and how everybody always gets saucy with with that situation. But he was like saying that there's a time to work, prepare, but there's also a time to rest, and you need to know when. Because either way, you're in God's presence, right? Because if you think about it, while you're working, when he sends, and I told my husband too, if you look at it like this, and Brie, I don't know if you can picture it like this, but I told him, I said, when you come back to God and you give God a full yes, and we do work, people call it doing work. I said it's kind of like the army or the military, right? We get sent out, but then at some point he's like, come back. You have to come back home. And during that time of, he's not going to just continuously send you out back to back
nope.
he may tell you that your next job or your work is your home life, your job, wherever you are is where you need to steward now. But in that time of preparation, rest, what you do is important, right? Are you preparing yourself again for what may come next? Are you, in your word? Are you, doing what you have to do to keep your mind, heart, and spirit and, up to par? That stuff all counts too, but I think a lot of people think sometimes if their life isn't filled with grand big things at every second and every moment, then they're not doing enough. And like you look, I hit that, Oh yeah. So that's what I was saying, right? It takes you like when you hear stuff like that, like take your breath away. So I'll let you talk on that. But yeah, it's like those moments where you need to realize sometimes your faith is needed in different ways and you can definitely guide people that are like you said proximity community right where you are and I think sometimes we miss the blessing in that.
I think so too. Talking about how you get sent out and then you get called back to, and you need to listen to that. And this makes me think it's so related to like fill your cup and be filled. But then
Mhm.
also a message that I heard this past year is in order for your cup to overflow to other people, you have to be filled yourself.
Come on.
And that often includes rest
Yep.
because if you are drained, if you have just overflowed and your cup is now empty, like
Yep.
you can't continue to pour into other people the way that you're being called to, that you want to. You
Yep.
need to take that time to make sure that your cup is also filled, and rest is one of the like most important ways to do that. And I think, and I'm this is something like this is a battle that I'm going through and continuing to learn, but one of the ways is to know like what your boundaries are too, because I am someone that I'm like, if my calendar isn't filled, and I don't have a to-do list, then I'm not doing right. I'm not doing things right. I need to have a to-do list,
Yes.
and I will keep adding to it, and I will keep adding and adding and
Yeah.
adding and adding. And all of a sudden my to-do list is like, it's nonsense for one. Like,
Yeah.
this doesn't even make sense. Why am I doing this? But you and so I've been working through that, and I think getting better at it. But you have to set those boundaries, whether that's with people or with yourself, to make sure that you're filling your cup too. And
Yeah.
that might mean taking some rest, that might
Yeah.
mean reading a book, that whatever is going to help you start to fill that cup, to give you that peace so that you can continue to go wherever you are, whether that's just in your home with your family, and
Yes.
you know you need to be there but you're drained. Oh, okay, let's find a way for you to get some rest too, so that
Yeah.
you can continue to show up and be there, because we all need that. And it's another cultural thing where I feel like we are constantly battling this pressure of, you need to do more. You need to do more, do
Yes.
more, do more, do more. And it's like, oh, no, actually, I need a day. I
Yeah.
I need a day. I need a
Mm.
day to be able to show up tomorrow.
Yep. Amen. Amen. So I think that's so good. I think that's a part of it. Definitely. And I think there's a lot of people that don't like the waiting. They don't like the in between space. Um,
And I get
and
that. Been there.
all the time. All the time, because I know we can get impatient. We can get impatient, but I'm like, if you think about it, most of the miracles in the Bible didn't happen. Some of them
Yeah.
were instantly, but some of them, Abraham was what, 25 years before the sun showed. Like, no, you got to think about it. It's like sometimes he can put stuff on your heart and your mind, and the next minute it's like, that's not for now. That could be for later. But you have to be okay. You have to be okay with the not now. And
Yep.
like when you said
Yeah.
that earlier about being okay with the doors that close, yes, you have to be okay with that too, because that's faith, right? You're trusting God to know that the doors you open are good, but the doors you close are also fine. Because, oh man, that comes back to something I said on Monday to our D group that we have at the Shine. I tried not to talk in the D group, but they got me. They got me at the end. And something that I told them was, redirection is not denial.
No.
No. I said we have to know that in faith and uncertainty, when we step out, sometimes it may not go the way that we think it is. So it could be God saying, not now, not this way or this way. So we have to be okay and be flexible enough to know that we're not in the driver's seat. You said
Mhm.
you don't want to be in the driver's seat anymore. Okay. So we are going to be allowed to go here, there, move here. That door may be highlighted one moment, but then the light could go off. And he could say, nope, this door over here. And so you have to be ready. And like that goes into the preparing part and the resting part for whatever door may come next or whatever situation may happen. But yeah, redirection is not denial. And I think we need to make sure that that's part of the conversation with faith and going and all that other stuff too, because I think a lot of people think it's unicorns and rainbows, but it's not. It's not. It's not.
No.
It's not. And we keep telling people that too. It's like it's good, it's fun. And we have fun doing this stuff. Like I'm honestly having a wonderful conversation with you and we have a good time. But the behind the scenes stuff is what we're wanting to tell you too. Yes, we say show up, like you said earlier. Yes, we say go, but no, it's okay. It's okay to say I'm uncertain, I'm
Oh,
unsure. And
absolutely.
yeah,
It's okay to feel that. It is okay. I mean, like you were talking about how sometimes I kick and scream. I mean, I can tell you that it was not a couple of weeks ago that I had like a full, I mean, let's just call it like a toddler temper tantrum where I kicked and screamed for 5 minutes. And then I was like, okay, no, sorry, got that out. Okay, let's do this. Like, it's okay to feel, and it's okay to you give yourself permission to go through those emotions, as long as you come back to that, okay, I'm still going to show up. And I'm
Yep.
going to figure this out, and I'm going to trust that, like, I am being guided to do this. But just like we want to extend that grace to other people, like extend it
Ooh.
to yourself too.
Yep.
If it is, oh man, but I love what you're saying, that redirection is not denial. That is just
Right.
it's not. And it's still like I was just saying, it's okay to still feel that emotion with whatever is being closed, whatever door is being closed or isn't opening. Like, it's okay to feel some emotion, but just continue to move forward and trust in that process and trust where you're going. Because I know it sounds so cliche to say, but looking back just at not even just this past year, but like I was saying, beyond with how things have changed, I know you do the same too, where you're like, I
Mm-hmm.
never thought I would be here doing this, talking to
No,
this, doing all these millions of other things.
no.
And like knowing what your plans are too, and what what mine are. Like, it's just, but you have to trust in that process, and then you will look back too and think, oh man, yeah, there was that one day back in 2010 where somebody said this, and at the time I didn't think anything of it,
Nope.
and now here I am. But you have to have faith to get to that point. And I know that, 10, 20 years from now, we're going to look back at this and be like, holy cow, like that meeting and that person that I met, that connection, uh is it's going to be so impactful. And again, it's just that one person
Yeah.
that you're going to be impactful for, and that's going to change them.
Yeah. And I think I like what you're saying now because it's like two things. If you're uncertain about what you're being called to do, I forgot to bring this up the last time when you said it, but community. Making sure that you're in the right community. Be okay with being vulnerable to ask people when you feel uncertain. God said we should not be alone, and He had people here for a reason. There got to be one person that you trust that you can talk to, that's walk the walk, that can maybe show you or guide you or provide you some advice. One or two people. Um, get in community somehow. I always tell people that that was never my strong suit. I'm a loner. I'm the only child. I can do things by myself, do everything by myself. So
Oh,
asking people for help is a no for me. I'm working on that. Still being refined. I got rough edges. So so I try to make sure I give everybody the advice that I'm learning too. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to be vulnerable, because sometimes it can be heavy and you can't carry it all on your own, and you can't show up well. You can't show up fully ready again to, like you said, pour out when you're being burdened down, and the wrong stuff is in your cup. So I think that that's just one thing that we need to make sure we say too. And then I guess, Brie, we can kind of, if you want to, how would you, what are your top, maybe what's your top three things, or how would we say wrap up building faith in uncertainty? What you think? Let me hear your thoughts on how would we say to go about this.
okay. Mm, I would say one, and really in no particular order.
Yeah.
um, have faith in that uncertainty. Let yourself feel whatever emotions, that uncertainty, any of that doubt that you're feeling. That's okay. It's okay to feel that way. It's very natural to feel that way, but just continue to have faith through all of that. Two, trust in timing. It is so hard, especially if you're like us and you want to control everything down to the minute. And oh, and if you don't, at some point, it's just going to be pushed upon you. So take that from someone who learned that the hard way. But trust in timing. Trust when a door opens, when a door closes. Trust when, like you said, when a door, like, you thought it was opening and then it was like, oh, redirect. Trust in that timing and trust in that process. Um, and then let's see. I'm going to circle back to have community. And I think when we use that word, I know what comes to my mind immediately is this huge group of people. Community
Yeah.
sounds so much bigger,
Yeah.
and it's not. Like you said, it is that one, to maybe 3 people
Mm-hmm.
that they're your people. They're the people that you can come to completely yourself, that you can be honest with, because you you can't do it alone. And you need those people. I would not be who I am or where I am without those people, and I can't continue to go on without those people. They I'm the same way. I don't like to ask for help. I am very much a I'll do it myself type of person,
Yeah.
and that's a burden. So find your people. If you don't have them now, they are out there, and I'm the same way. I'm the introverted person, but I can be extroverted. I can show up and be what I
Yeah.
need to be to match the energy that is there.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, like I'm an introverted person. I come home and I'm like, oh man, I'm so tired. Like, so find your couple of people that know you, that you can be vulnerable with, that you can be authentic with. You're not scared of. That is your community. It's
Mm-hmm.
not this like massive group. I'm not If you have them, that's awesome. But just find a couple of people that you can trust and that they're going to be honest with you, and you're willing to hear the good and the bad from them.
Mm-hmm. And then I'll give you this little kick. I was gonna say through all this too, we're saying if you don't prepare and you don't go, you're never going to build faith to make it through uncertainty. You're always going to be cornered and boxed into those moments. Each time something big shows up, each time there's something that's being asked of you that you don't know about, you're going to continuously come back to that same moment where I can't and I couldn't. So if the more that you trust and try and say, okay, I cannot do it on my own, let me ask the person that gave the word to you. Hello? He knows. So he knows already what you're gonna say and that you're gonna doubt it. Make sure you're praying about it. Make sure you're asking other people to help you pray through it. Make sure you're saying, hey, this is what I heard. Is this correct? It's okay to ask that and work it out with people. So that's my tip too, as we kind of wrap this thing up, is that sometimes you have to be okay with saying, I heard it, I felt it, I'm unsure. Now let me go back to what you said. Hey, Father, hey, let me repeat this back to you. Is this what you said? Study it, research it, pray on it. Long as I feel like if you're making an attempt, he's okay with the attempt. And you're making some type of move towards what he's saying. And then again, running it by somebody else to make sure that you're hearing correctly, because it's okay to bump your head if you jump out there and you don't do the full check and run it through the Jesus filter. There may be an opportunity for you to find out that that was the wrong way.
Yeah.
That's where the grace comes in, the grace for yourself. But if you do it properly in the beginning, like I said, he doesn't let us fall on purpose and on our own because he's some mad God because you didn't do it the way he said. He knows we're human. He knows we're human.
Exactly. And that is another, oh, sorry. And you just
Oh,
said
you're
that so
good.
eloquently, like all my words that I just kind of rambled together.
Oh.
Uh that that's one you have to not be scared of failing and falling,
Mm,
and trust that you're going to get back up, and that there was a purpose for whatever happened. And
mhm.
that is so scary. You don't
Yep.
want to feel like you let other people down. You don't want to let yourself down. It's oh, that might be like the biggest internal struggle. But when you start to tell yourself, it's okay if I fail, I'm gonna learn from this. It's okay if I fall here because I'm going to be able to figure this out. And I'm all for giving yourself a pep talk. And if you have to talk yourself through
Yes.
that, then do it, because it's scary. But just know that just because you fall, it's not a failure. Anything that feels like a failure is not a true failure. It
Mm-mm.
is teaching you something else.
Oh man, oh girl, you're gonna make me go another hour. I'm not gonna mess with you, but
I'm like, are we
oh,
way
I
over
felt
our time?
yeah, I no, you're fine. I always tell people this podcast doesn't have a time limit, but most of the time we go over an hour when we get on this conversation. But man, I feel that thing strong. Talking about part of my business life into this same situation was one thing a boss said to me before was, fail forward, you
Mm,
know, always make sure if you're gonna fail, it's okay, but fail forward. Don't fall back from it because you made that error or situation. Fall forward and figure out how you can do it differently later. What did you get out of it? It's a learning experience, and I kind of tell people too that in faith, a lot of times too, we have to understand that we don't know everything. God already knows that we're gonna fail and make mistakes, but and sometimes you can feel like, is this a test? You just never know. It may be a learning experience for you to know, not only, and then let's talk about this again, not only for you, but it's going to become a part of your testimony that could probably bless somebody else later. You're going to be the seed, planting that seed into somebody else that's going to go through the same thing. You're not going to be the only one. And I think that sometimes we get in our mind, we're the only one this is happening to. It's going
right.
to never, no, it's probably
No.
happening to millions of other people, but they don't have the guidance for it because nobody spoke up yet. So you never know who you come in contact with. It may be you that can share that
Oh,
story. You know?
that so what that makes me think. So this new podcast that I'm working on with a new
Oh,
co-host
here it
and
goes.
everything. Oh, well, so let me just tell you. So we're gonna have several series related to writing and book publishing and everything. And one of our series is all about our mistakes. And
Ooh.
hey, this is where we messed up. And I mean, she's an author. I'm more in the book coaching, editing. Like, I'll tell you where I've messed up in that. But we were talking about it. We're going through all of the different things that we want to talk about. And we both go, we really need to talk about where we messed up so that someone else, maybe we can catch them
Yeah.
before they do that. Learn from our mistakes. It's okay to be vulnerable and share those with other people because you're going to help someone else avoid that stumble. And so that's one thing is I'm like, well, we're going to have a whole series about where we really screwed up, but that's okay. It's okay.
Yes.
Someone
No.
needs to hear it.
Yeah. And you know what? That's the whole point. I tell people every time they're like, "Oh, you wrote fill your cup." I'm like, "Yeah." Well, you're gonna learn a lot about me when you read it. I always tell like, I'm like, it's basically a reflective journey through my testimony of when I was not so great and times where I had doubt, and you're gonna see it all. And I'm hoping again, I always tell people, yeah, I give you that so you can go out here and learn something. And then I'm like, I offered you a chance to pour out your old stuff in your cup like I did, and now I'm getting you something to be filled with. It's not like I'm saying, hey, I give you this book, goodbye. I'm saying show up on Wednesdays, and I'm still gonna give you some good stuff to talk about, so you can be like, that girl Sheena is crazy. Y'all heard that? Yeah, because I'm still walking this thing out. It's not over. It's not over. I'm living this thing every day like everybody else. I'm every day. I tell people, I have to die to myself and pick up that new life every single day. It is not a moment where I'm like, somebody cuts me off in traffic or something happens, and I'm like, I feel it. It's good. I'm going the wrong way.
Oh,
So, those kind of things. I'm like,
oh, we're all there. We're all there. Is there is there's so and that's one thing that I've learned a lot this past year too, actually, uh through the pastor at the church that I attend. And this is what he says and this is what he preaches all the time, but it's how you start your day sets your day. And
ooh,
oh yeah, I know. It doesn't just like roll off the tongue once you say it too. So
yeah.
it's all his. But man, when I heard him talk about that and I thought, oh dang, okay, yeah, if I start my day with the positivity, then when those little things happen throughout the day, someone cuts you off and you're like you're freaking out because we drive in Florida, so people don't know how to drive here and it's a whole thing. Um
Mhm.
someone cuts you off or someone's rude to you or you do stumble or something happens. But I'm not kidding. if you have set your day and you have started your day a certain way, you will handle those things entirely different than if you just rolled out of bed and you were like, "Oh gosh, it's another Wednesday."
You
I mean,
know?
it is I it will do things to you and in you. I really you have to try it out. I cannot eloquently
Yeah.
tell you the impact that it has had on my life, but when I really heard that from him, okay, I'm going to start and set my day a certain way. And don't get me wrong, like I said, I threw a little temper tantrum a couple weeks ago. Things happen.
Yep.
It happens. It totally happens and it's okay. But starting your day and setting your day is going to help you get through those and react to things a lot differently. And
Mhm.
that's one of the biggest lessons that I have learned from him that I'm just so thankful for now. Do I wish I'd maybe heard it a few years ago? Probably, but it's timing is everything. And I heard it when I needed to
Yes.
hear it.
Yeah. Ooh. Girl, yes. Yes, exactly. No, no, no. That is so good. All right, say it one more time for us.
How you start your day sets your day.
Girl, that's
And
a whole word. That's a whole
That's from Pastor Q at the chapel in Trinity,
yeah.
Florida. That is
Yeah.
those are not mine, but oh, it is.
That you wanna know why though? Because here's I know we're gonna talk about this cup again. Because if your cup is already depleted by the time you hit that moment, what do you think is gonna come out of that cup?
Oh, it's not gonna be pretty.
No, it's gonna be the film that's at the bottom of that cup that needs to be rinsed out, or that's up
Yep.
the sides. That's not. It's not a fresh pour. This is gonna be the pour that's been sticking out, and you haven't cleaned that cup yet,
Yep.
and they're gonna get the rusty edges off that. That's what that's gonna happen, and you're
Yeah,
gonna be like, "Why did I do that?"
you gotta run that through the dishwasher because it needs some cleaning. It needs some cleaning. But
Yes.
oh,
So,
if,
soon as you said that, I was like, "Yep."
if you fill your cup at the beginning of the day, that a clean cup, and you fill that cup at the beginning of the day,
What a
it,
fresh pour from fresh brew,
oh, mm, your
girl.
day, I it really will change. And
Yep.
I it sounds crazy even coming out of my mouth saying that, but
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 it's true.
it
It's
is
true.
so true. I even some of the women that I've connected with too, a couple of others. Oh, someone else said something one day. She was like, "Yeah, I really started to set my day differently." And I was like, "Oh, same. Did it change you too?" Like, and she's like, "Yeah, my entire days have been different." I'm like,
Yep.
"Oh, yeah. I promise you have to give it a try. You have to
Yeah.
set your day
Yeah.
differently."
Yeah, and I think for the people that's hollering, I'm not a morning person, me either. But you know what? I'm like, however your day starts, like I've learned that, I have to get up now and take the kids, and my schedule starts off all weird. So sometimes I don't get to it at the start of my day right at the beginning. But as soon as I drop those kids off, my study time starts in the car. I started putting my podcast from sermons that I missed or whatever I do. I have certain preachers that I watch every single day and get caught up, or podcasts that I listen to. I have a schedule. I know what I need to fill my cup with throughout the week to be able to come here, do this, to do all the other things, to show up great for my kids, my family, and all that other stuff. So yes, and to do work, because it's like it's no way that if you start out with that, and I think that sets the tone. I need to stop. I need to wrap this up. I think it sets the tone. Oh, my heart almost jumped on my chest that time. Whew. It makes good soil. God
Oh,
can do more. I'm a, I'm gonna take a deep breath. Whew. I'm sorry, it hit me. Whew. All right, hold on. Get yourself together, Sheena. God can do more with that type of soil and environment. When you want to do stuff with Him, when you are preparing yourself immediately in the morning with Him, saying, "Hey, I want to get this right. I want to start off right." You are leaving yourself wide open for anything to happen and be used in that moment at any time. If you keep preparing and stay prepared, you just never know what can happen next or where you can be pulled next in that day. You just never know. So that hit me. Oh, I had to catch myself. I was like, "Whoa, I'm having a moment." Whoop! Thank you, Spirit, for showing up. But Lord, it just overwhelmed me. But it's true. When you said that, I'm like, yeah. Do you know how great it is? And man, when you do it right before you're about to do something big, to preparing in advance for the thing that you know is coming and setting the tone for that, building up to the day you have to show up. That's how you
and,
build faith and uncertainty too.
and talking about like your process, I would say learn what your process is, your
Yes,
individual processes
yes,
to set your day and to fill your cup. And I will say too, like there are days that are super hectic and you don't
yes,
want to get up, and especially if you're not a morning person,
yes,
I will tell you that 5 minutes, an extra 5 minutes can change the rest of your day. So if you normally get up at 6 and you say, I'm going to get up at 5:55 and I'm
yeah,
going to use that 5 minutes
yep,
to set my day,
yep,
it like, and then figure out what works for you and what changes you. But I'm telling you, 5 minutes can change your perspective for
yes,
the rest of the day. And if you
yes,
continue to do that, oh, I promise you, it's going to change something inside of you, and you're going to notice those things where you're like, oh man, wow, I really handled that. Oh, I had the words to respond to that person. Oh, I really connected with that person. I didn't get mad when my power went out and all of a sudden I couldn't work. I just kind of said,
listen.
okay, that's so
So
it
yep.
is.
So I love that you said it because somebody else, two other people have came on here and said that about it doesn't have to be 30 minutes. It doesn't have to be this big old planned out situation. But I will tell you this for your 5 minutes. One of my guests said to set an alarm for 5 minutes and that let that be your 5 minutes. And once that alarm's over, go about your day and whatever you have to do. But anyway, you can put in those 5 minutes, do it. But here's one thing too, talking about preparation. If you know you're going to start this new thing off, and we were talking about grace-filled habits. If you haven't seen that episode, go check out grace-filled habits. But she this came to mind. If you're going to start getting up 5 minutes earlier, don't get up 5 minutes earlier looking around like, what am I going to do? Let me scroll through my phone. Let me figure out what I'm going to read. The night before you go to bed,
It's an intentional 5
it's
minutes.
just, ooh, be intentional. Oh my goodness, that has been my word for the last few months. I've been saying that on my podcast. God's been working on me with this word intentional, because I feel like God is intentional. He makes no mistakes. He designed us. I can just go down the list of the things that He has been intentional about. Us meeting was intentional,
Right.
like those type of things. So why not give some intention to preparing yourself for the day? Like do that. It can bless you in so many ways. So I feel like if you're going to start this new habit or give it a try, I would say if it's 5 minutes of this podcast, 5 minutes of another podcast, one scripture that you've been trying to study, write it down in a different way. If it's journaling, maybe 5 minutes to do a prayer or out loud or write it down, or 5 minutes to set it, something. It's so much you can do. And I mean, the phones that we have can come up with so much. But as long as you're intentional about what you're going to look at for those 5 minutes and not get distracted by the the apps going off, the new notifications and all that other stuff, but saying those are 5 minutes I'm going to give you. And that is how it's going to go. And that's going to set the tone for my day because that's how you're going to get a 5 minute pour, like intentionally.
Oh, it's such a good word. It is so good. I love it. So,
So good. Okay.
oh,
Well, I won't. I can talk your head off all day long, and I know the people are like, "Girls, I thought y'all said y'all was wrapping up like 20 minutes ago. What happened? What happened? I don't know, you
it
guys.
happens,
It
happens.
happens. It happens." But so you want to tell us what's the? Do you have a name for this new podcast or?
Oh, so, oh man. Okay. So the new podcast is going to be called Debut Writers. You can
Ooh.
look for it in early 2024, and hopefully it's okay that I share that with everybody. It's fine.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I mean, fine with me, but I'm like, I don't know about your partner.
no, I think she'll be okay with it. So the new podcast is going to be called Debut Writers. Yeah, look for it in early 2024. I'm also the co-host on Narratives and Nightcaps, which is so you can find us mainly on Instagram, which is at Narratives and Nightcaps, or our website, which is narrativesandnightcaps.com. And that is it's a fun space. So if you're looking for a variety of book recommendations, you want to hear two women just talk about nonsense and go through books and share our book reviews and book recommendations. We like
Yeah.
to pair fun beverages with, so sometimes it's coffee, sometimes it's a mocktail, sometimes it's a cocktail, kind of whatever our vibe is. It's just a really fun space. And we also talk to, we have a different guest every month, whether that's an author or someone in the publishing industry. You can also, let's see, my company is called The Craft Co. So our website is thecraft.co. And that is a little bit more about what my mom and I do together. And then if you really want, you can find me on LinkedIn or Instagram, which is at Brie Shouppe. So
Yeah, look at you. I
yeah,
don't know, so much good stuff coming for 2024. I think me and you talked about this, but it's, you know what? I was like, your testimony uh is so great. And I was like, wait a minute. I wrote down this word at our meeting and I wanted to make sure this is why we came together. This is how I wanted to wrap it up. So I named the title of this episode Building Faith Through Uncertainty. But when we talked at the meeting, I wrote down nothing fell apart, it all fell together.
absolutely. Oh my goodness.
Yep. Yep.
That is just the perfect way to wrap this up. And
Mhm.
coming back to the word, like, trust in that.
Yep.
Trust in that even if you feel like you're falling apart, because don't worry, we all have those days. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, just trust in it that it really is going to fall together.
Yes. I don't have time. We won't do it again. But I felt that I was like, no, I'm not gonna go down that path. But yes, pick up the pieces, those pieces, and if you need help picking up those pieces, ask for help.
Ask
Help is
for
here. Yes. Yes.
ask for
Don't do
help.
it alone. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so
Good.
much for having me. I
Yes.
It was always so amazing to talk with you. So
Okay.
I'm just really fortunate to be here, and so thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you, you guys. I hope this conversation has blessed you. Like it has blessed me. I am so grateful. As you can see, Bree is just one of those people that you can just talk to all day long. She's such a joy. So grateful that we met in Miami. So thankful for Beyond Words that even gave us the opportunity to be in the room. To meet with each other. So much more coming from her. I'll put all her contact information. Make sure you follow her. Make sure you say hello. Tell her where you saw her at. Let her know you saw her here. We cannot wait to see everything that comes for you in 2024, Bree. And also, you guys, make sure that you share this podcast with somebody you know. You never know if this word could be the word that they were waiting on. And you know what? As I always tell you every week, make sure that you go be filled. I love you guys, and I look forward to seeing you next week so we can be filled together. All right. Thank you again, Bree. I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Bye.
All right. Talk to you later.